Imagine waking up tomorrow to a news alert that the Iraqi dinar you've been holding for years, the notes tucked away in a safe deposit box or a drawer, are now trading at a rate that doesn't just represent a profit, but a life-altering windfall. This isn't a drill, and it's not a speculative fantasy from a fringe forum. This is the very real, very palpable energy coursing through the global currency markets right now as the first credible, verifiable reports of exchange appointments for the Iraqi dinar and Vietnamese Dong begin to surface from established financial institutions. For over a decade, the narrative around these currencies has been one of patience, often met with skepticism from mainstream financial analysts who dismiss the revaluation, or RV, as a pipe dream fueled by geopolitical wishful thinking. But the landscape has shifted seismically and silently beneath our feet, and the early tremors are now being felt. The key to understanding this moment is to move beyond the hype and anchor ourselves in the cold, hard data and the geopolitical dominoes that have finally begun to fall. Let's start with Iraq, a nation sitting on one of the world's largest proven oil reserves, a resource that inherently backs the value of its currency. For years, the dinar's value was suppressed by immense factors: the aftermath of war, the insurgency of ISIS, political instability, and a crippling dependence on a single revenue stream that left its economy vulnerable. However, meticulous observers of the Central Bank of Iraq's monetary policy will have noted a deliberate and aggressive multi-year strategy to unpeg from the dollar, to tighten the money supply, and to fight rampant corruption that leached value from the nation. They've been investing billions in infrastructure, not just in oil, but in ports, railways, and telecommunications, positioning themselves as a future logistical hub between East and West. This isn't conjecture, these are public infrastructure projects with international partners. Furthermore, the passing of the new oil and gas law, a piece of legislation stalled for years, is finally creating a transparent and equitable framework for revenue sharing between the federal government and the Kurdistan region, a critical step towards national economic unity and stability. When you combine this internal fortification with the recent strategic partnership agreements with nations like China for massive reconstruction projects and France for civil nuclear power, you see a country not on the brink of collapse, but one methodically engineering its own renaissance. The signal, the true signal that the dam is about to break, comes from the banking channels you and I interact with. Major international banks, particularly in Asia and the Middle East, and a growing number of private redemption centers in financial havens, have begun a quiet, unpublicized process of setting up dedicated appointment slots for high-volume currency exchanges. These aren't the black market traders of old, these are licensed, audited institutions initiating a process that requires verified ownership, source of funds documentation, and appointments that are being booked out for weeks. This logistical preparation is the most telling sign of all. The financial system doesn't mobilize for a rumor, it mobilizes for an event. Your action right now, before the masses catch on, is not to panic buy, but to prepare forensically. If you hold dinar or dong, your first step is verification. You must ensure your notes are not counterfeit, are of the correct series. Certain older series may have different redemption protocols, and are in pristine, acceptable condition. Find a reputable currency verification service, often available through major numismatic societies or through the authentication arms of large auction houses. This due diligence is your ticket to the game. Without it, you will be turned away at the door. This is the foundation of everything that is about to unfold, and it's a process that cannot be rushed once the official announcement is made public, because at that point, the system will be flooded with inquiries from people who did not do their homework, creating massive backlogs and potential for costly errors. Think of this moment as the calm before the storm, a strategic window where you can move with purpose and clarity while the majority of the world is still asleep to this reality. The intelligence is coming in from too many credible, disconnected sources to ignore, painting a consistent picture of a financial transition that is moving from the shadows of possibility into the light of tangible, executable reality. The very fact that you are hearing about appointments, a formal and structured banking process, is the ultimate validation of the years of analysis and waiting. It signifies that the gatekeepers of the global financial system are now actively preparing for a new equilibrium, a recalibration of value that reflects the true potential of these nations, unshackled from the conflicts and economic policies of the past. This isn't about getting rich quick, it's about the culmination of a long-term geopolitical and economic realignment that you had the foresight to position yourself for, and now the mechanisms are being put in place to facilitate that transition for those who are prepared. The first chapter of this story is closing, and a new, far more exciting one is beginning, and your immediate, deliberate action is what will determine your place within it. Now let's pivot to the Vietnamese Dong, a currency whose potential has been similarly overshadowed by its past, but is now poised for a dramatic revaluation driven by one of the most explosive economic transformations in modern history. While Iraq's story is tied to oil and post-war recovery, Vietnam's narrative is one of unbridled manufacturing and technological ascent. For years, the argument against a Dong revaluation was its status as a developing currency with controls, but that label has become profoundly outdated. Vietnam is no longer just the cheap alternative to Chinese manufacturing. It has become a global manufacturing powerhouse in its own right, attracting record levels of foreign direct investment, FDI, from tech giants like Samsung, Intel, and LG, who are not just setting up assembly lines, but are establishing full-scale, state-of-the-art research and development centers. This influx of high-value investment creates a constant, soaring demand for the Dong, as these corporations need local currency to pay salaries, build facilities, and procure from a rapidly growing domestic supplier network. The data from the General Statistics Office of Vietnam shows a GDP growth rate that consistently rivals and often surpasses China's, with a young, dynamic, and increasingly skilled workforce driving it. The government's commitment to digitization is staggering, with digital economy contributions to GDP projected to hit over 30% in the next few years, a rate that outpaces many Western nations. This digital leap is creating a fertile ground for financial innovation, with the State Bank of Vietnam actively exploring a digital dong, a move that would instantly increase transparency, reduce fraud, and integrate the currency more seamlessly into the global digital payment ecosystem. The critical factor here, the one that directly impacts the exchange rate, is the pressure from international trade. Vietnam runs a massive trade surplus, meaning it exports far more than it imports, flooding the economy with foreign currency, primarily dollars. To maintain a competitively low exchange rate for its exports, the state bank has been actively buying these dollars and selling dong, accumulating one of the largest foreign exchange reserves in Southeast Asia. However, this strategy has a limit. The World Bank and the International Monetary Fund have repeatedly advised Vietnam to allow for greater currency flexibility to combat inflation and to align with its new status as a major emerging economy. The recent agreements, such as the comprehensive partnerships with the United States and upgraded relations with the European Union, all contain clauses pushing for financial liberalization and a more market-driven exchange rate. The appointment systems you are now hearing about are the direct result of this mounting, inexorable pressure. Banks are anticipating a formal announcement from the Vietnamese government, a move that could see the dong's value adjust significantly and rapidly to reflect the true, robust strength of its underlying economy. The individuals securing appointments now are those who understand that in the world of finance, the news reports the event, but the smart money positions itself before the headline hits. Your strategy for the dong mirrors that of the dinar: immediate verification and education. Understand the difference in your notes, the security features, and the specific series that are most in demand. The window between the rumor and the reality is the most profitable, but also the most perilous if you are not prepared. This preparation extends beyond just authenticating your physical notes. It involves understanding the nuanced economic indicators that are flashing green for Vietnam, such as the booming real estate sector in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, which is attracting international capital at an unprecedented rate, and the country's strategic positioning in the global supply chain, making it less vulnerable to regional disruptions and giving it immense negotiating power on the world stage. The dong's journey is a testament to a nation that has successfully pivoted from a history of conflict to becoming an indispensable node in the global economic network. And the currency's value is the last major metric to catch up to this new reality. The banking system's quiet activation of exchange protocols is the clearest admission that this catch-up is not a matter of if but when, and the when appears to be now, unfolding not as a single bombastic event, but as a controlled, managed process for those who are positioned correctly. Ignoring the signals from Vietnam would be akin to ignoring China's economic rise in the early 2000s. The transformation is already baked into the industrial and technological data, and the financial markets, including the currency valuation, are simply the last domino to fall, creating a potential wealth transfer for those who saw the underlying trend years in the making and have the patience and foresight to see it through to its logical and potentially very lucrative conclusion. So where does this leave you, the holder of these currencies, standing at what appears to be the precipice of a financial event you've long awaited? It leaves you in a position of empowered action, but that action must be strategic, informed, and swift. The buzz of appointments now open is real, but it's crucial to dissect what that actually means on the ground. these appointments are not yet for the general public walking in off the street with a few million dong. They are initially targeting high net worth individuals, fund managers, and bulk holders who are going through private banking channels or specialized redemption centers that deal in what's termed exotic currency exchanges. The process is typically a multi-step one. First, a pre-screening call where you declare the amount and series of your currency. Second, the submission of scanned documents for verification and anti-money laundering checks. And finally, the securing of a physical appointment at a secure location where the physical notes are authenticated in person and the exchange is executed at a pre-agreed rate. This rate is the billion-dollar question. It will not be a single universal number flashed on a screen like the EUR-USD pair. The initial exchange rates will be highly negotiated, varying based on the volume you hold, the specific series of your notes, the institution you are dealing with, and the overall liquidity in the market at that precise moment. This is why the preparation phase is so critical. The individuals who will capitalize most effectively on this event are those who have built relationships with financial advisors familiar with this space, who have their documentation in perfect order, and who have a clear, rational plan for the capital once it is converted. The psychological aspect cannot be overstated. After years of waiting, the temptation to take the first offer in a state of euphoric panic will be immense. You must have a target range in mind, an understanding of the tax implications in your country of residence, and a diversified wealth management strategy ready to deploy. The post-revaluation landscape will be chaotic, with a flood of misinformation, scams, and unsolicited offers. Your best defense is the community of serious, data-driven investors and the verified information from primary sources, the central banks of Iraq and Vietnam themselves, and the official communications from your own major national banks. This moment is the culmination of a long-term vision, and it demands a disciplined, long-term strategy for the wealth it may generate. Do not let the initial excitement cause you to make a rushed decision. The opportunity is not just in the exchange itself, but in what you build with the resources once the exchange is complete. This is about more than a number in a bank account. It's about financial sovereignty, the ability to invest in assets that generate lasting legacy wealth, and the freedom to live life on your own terms. The starting pistol has been fired. The appointments are being booked. The information you need is now in your hands. The final and most important step is yours, and that is exactly why you need to act right now. This video is your starting point, but it cannot be your only source. The difference between those who hear about this event and those who truly benefit from it will be the speed and quality of their execution. If you have found this deep dive valuable, if this data has given you a concrete framework for understanding what is happening, then you need to take the next step. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell right now, because this channel is going to be your ongoing intelligence hub as this historic situation unfolds. In the coming days, I will be releasing a follow-up video that is even more actionable, a direct link in the description list of the specific verifiable steps to find a legitimate currency verification service, the exact documents you need to start gathering, and a constantly updated list of the financial institutions and redemption centers that are currently in the pre-appointment phase. I will be naming names and providing direct links to their official portals, saving you hours of risky online searching. Furthermore, I will be breaking down the different series of dinar and dong notes, showing you visually which ones are in highest demand and which ones might face delays, ensuring you walk into your appointment with confidence in the right material. This is not just news, this is your financial future. Don't be a passive observer, be an active participant. Subscribe, get notified, and let's navigate this historic financial shift together. Your appointment awaits.